can go. We're good. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. So on the like admin side, you'll want to click into one of these departments and then within one of the offices of the department. And that's just I'm trying to use the terminology that they use. So we know that this is not like a department. We know it's a community,
A community.
and within that community, there's different books. So there's a few things here. You have all of your users that display. The way that you could manage someone's calendar is by going to group users and selecting when they are available. Okay, so someone can decide to manage their own calendar, but it's easiest if there's like a group manager
Correct.
that does this.
Correct.
And the first thing that I noticed is it says by video.
Okay.
Automatically places people using video with Cranium.
Right.
Instead
Right.
of Zoom.
Okay.
So, and I'll get to how we can fix that.
Okay. And
So-
that was something that somebody brought up in the meeting this morning, was that's one workaround is to change that.
Yes. So the way to change that is where I'm going to go into. So I'm going to ignore a lot of these tabs because they're just not relevant right now. I'm going to first go to reason codes
Okay.
to make sure you all have the reason codes set up correctly. So these are all the reason codes someone can schedule with Arts Communication Design Success Center. Okay. It's either one of these, like 1, 2, 3. Like you have about 10 reasons, all defaulting to 30 minutes.
Correct.
Okay. So that's all set up correctly. The other thing that we need to make sure is that where you have location, and I saw this, that you have an online location. And your online location should be your standing Zoom room for that particular community.
Yeah,
But
actually, oh, go ahead.
Yes, no, go ahead, Roseanne.
So to ensure that we are, yes, that's correct. It is the Zoom room, and then students still are filling out that baby survey before they get redirected. And again, that just helps our intake folks. But yes, I don't know if that makes a difference in the actual hyperlinking of things.
It will. It
Okay.
will. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
We could still leave the location as online.
Okay.
That's perfectly fine because it'll tell someone, where would you like to meet? And it's going to give them the option of online or on campus. Although I don't know if we're doing that just yet, but if someone was truly on campus, they would need to set that. And that's how students, anyway, I'll get to all of it. So these are just a few things that I looked at. So your locations seem to be correct. Your reason codes seem to be correct. Your email templates, however, don't reflect the information that you want to reflect to students.
Okay.
That's why they're getting that odd email with like the unique link in Cranium.
Okay.
So it says online video meeting. That is online video meeting for Cranium. So we are going to ignore that. We're going to ignore telephone meeting, classroom confirmation. We're going to go all the way down here. So campus meeting template, that means this is the message when someone schedules to meet in person. This is what they're getting.
Okay.
So if you would like to give them a different meeting location, it will just say on campus Rancho BEB. But if you wanted to attach a map, if you wanted to tell them more instructions, especially right now with COVID, if there are certain precautions a student needs to take, this is where you would make all those changes and you would need to save that template. So I'm going to send myself an email preview and it's going to tell me that I'm making a meeting with myself, but it's just because it's a preview of things. So here we go. So this is what if I were a student.
Oh, and Adriana, so like in our meeting we talked about, like, see where it says iCalendar link in that email template,
Mhm.
we're taking that out. And then we could just embed the Zoom link right in there. Is that correct?
That's correct, but from what I could see, that hasn't been done.
Okay, right.
So this is as a student what I would get. That an appointment has been scheduled. Okay. This is just because tried to send myself a preview. It's going to have my name, but really it's going to have the tutor's name
Mm,
where I have my name highlighted.
mhm.
And then it's all of this: arts, communication, design, location. This is a meeting subject. Like, it, because their default templates aren't real intuitive, there are a few things that you cannot change. Like, you can't change where it says account information, you can't change that. You can, if you don't want people to reschedule, you could remove this link. If you don't want people to cancel, you could remove that link.
Okay.
I would want more information as a student here.
Okay.
You'd probably space a few things out. You'd probably attach a map, and you would probably remove all of this stuff
Okay.
here.
Okay.
You might say, like, you've scheduled a meeting. This is what you need to do once your meeting actually gets going.
Okay, so this all looks good because we can change all that in the template. Um, and they don't get any other attachment, right? Because I think that was what came up in the meeting before, was that, and it might be because of the in video, it was the video location. They were
Mhm.
getting an attachment on how to, like, get into
Yes.
the classroom or the cafe. But we're going to disable all of that and just make the location on campus.
Or online, right? So that was my example for, you have two separate locations on campus.
Oh, do we have another meeting template then?
Yeah, and then you have something called online meeting template,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
because you've created two, and this is just for one of the groups. So
Correct.
I'm not sure what I think. Do you have Zoom rooms set up for, like, different Zoom rooms set up for arts, communication, etc.? You don't, right? You have everyone first go to that. They first have to fill out that
The
excuse me, that
survey.
survey.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yeah.
wouldn't even have the Zoom
Yeah.
information. You
Right.
would say,
Yes. The link
hey,
actually, even though it says to the
well,
student, you're going into the Zoom room, I mean, we could put language in there that just says, please fill out this short survey and you will be redirected into the Zoom room.
yeah, that's all you need to say,
Yeah.
really. When it comes time to your meeting, click on this link. You'll be
Correct.
asked a series of questions to
Correct.
ensure that you meet with the appropriate person, like something like
Correct.
that.
Correct.
So, that is, so to be clear, will you be using on campus at all?
I mean, maybe I don't know what the spring is gonna be. It's so up in the air.
Okay.
Maybe.
So, I mean, ignore what I said for on campus. If you're not even meeting anyone for on campus, then just forget it. I'm going to move on to
Yeah.
online meeting.
Yeah.
So, this is what students are currently getting.
Yeah.
And this is probably confusing them because it says you just created a meeting at online, because that's our location,
That's the location.
with whoever the moderator is. And then it tells them some other details. So this is the template you need to edit
Got it.
for every location. It needs to, and the cool thing is that they all actually will say the same thing, because they're all leading to that one link.
Okay.
So branch out.
Okay. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. And I don't know, at some point, are you going to address then, you know, possibly why a student might get a message from here that we created and a message from the either tutor
And
or instructor's Cranium Cafe account?
right. Um, Depending on how they've set up their their automatic messaging and meetings. So let's just review that piece of it.
Keep
So
going. Do your thing.
you'll need to know that you need to edit this. Online meeting template needs to be corrected.
So it makes sense in the email.
So it makes sense to the email and it actually gives them a link to where they're supposed to go.
For sure.
And the way to save it, you just select save template, and the way to test it, you send yourself an email preview to make sure everything's correct.
Got it.
Once that is corrected, and once that's all done, then when you go up here to group users, that all needs to be done first. For example, Anthony, he has all his hours. He's, available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Actually needs to say, not in video meeting, it needs to say at location online for all of these reasons.
Got it.
And then you would save it.
Okay.
You would have to do that for all of their meeting times. So if you edit the series, not meeting in video meeting, they're actually at a location and they're online.
Okay.
That could bypass all of the all of everything you just said, because in video meeting we'll always use all the Cranium defaults.
Okay.
We'll always use okay, you scheduled with this person.
Sure.
This is specific messaging.
Sure.
Versus at location online, you've set all of that up.
Got it. Can you just go back and review quickly how we create those locations again?
Right. So the locations are
right there. Okay.
Currently, you have two different locations. You have on campus and online.
Okay. And there's an add group location right there. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could add a different location if you needed it.
Okay.
And then once you set your locations, when you go to email templates,
got it.
This might be a little confusing because they have something called online video meeting, but that's not, you have to bypass all of their default templates.
Got it.
Up until you get to the ones you've created.
Okay.
One of them being online meeting template. You need to hit this.
Okay.
All of this. You could delete whatever you'd like.
Okay.
To make sure you're getting all the information reflected the way you'd like, you want to send yourself an email to make sure that things are accurate.
Okay.
And then you would save that template.
Okay.
After doing that, when you go to group users, you need to make sure that instead of it saying by video, it would actually be color coded. Say online, because you created the location of online.
Got it.
And really Zoom.
Okay.
Or really it's that survey.
Okay. Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. So a question then about the student. A student might have their calendar settings so that they get notifications on what's coming up. So if we have done all of this that has been described, if a student gets a notification saying that their appointment with Anthony is coming up, the information that pops up in front of them should be the link to the Zoom room. Is that correct then? It shouldn't be, because we have chosen that specific location, the student should not be directed to a classroom or a cafe.
That's correct, yes. And I can confirm that. I just met with someone, faculty member, Doug, and he confirmed it for me. I asked him, hey, Doug, when you got your meeting notifications, because he even said it where he typed in his phone number and he let me know oh, this is kind of cool. I got reminded that I was meeting with you via text because I opted into it. And it had your Zoom link because I use Zoom, my direct link in my messaging.
Okay.
But you will say, hey, your meeting's coming up. Make sure to click this link, whatever that link is. And it's really the survey link. So you could better service the student.
Okay.
They don't know that. They just think like, oh, okay, my meeting's coming up. This is how what I need to do.
Got it. Okay. That makes
But you want
sense.
to let them know, like, hey, it's not going to take you directly into a room. You're going to be asked a series of questions first.
Yes.
Because it might feel like, oh, was supposed to be meeting with someone, and this is
Right.
asking me questions.
Right. And actually, sometimes the opposite happens where they fill out the survey and then they're surprised when they get popped into a room with a bunch of
Oh,
people. Like we've had people just kind of hang up because they freaked out a little. They're
you're
like,
like,
"What?"
oh no, just kidding.
Right.
So that
Um,
will solve all of the issues that you are currently experiencing.
okay.
Additionally, something else I noticed is your login type.
Hmm.
Your login type currently only allows for authentication. That means that when someone is logging in to
Mm.
see you, they will get this.
Yike. We want them to do a Canvas authentication.
I would say do both. If they have Canvas or Chafee, you would want it to look like this.
So, Adriana, because right now they can only access our schedule in Canvas. So if they're already logged into Canvas, do they still need to authenticate themselves again?
So that's part of something that recently occurred where
Okay.
yes, you do have to authenticate again, but it's a matter of clicks. All you're saying is log into Canvas and click OK, essentially. Authorize is the right term. And then it logs you right in. So
Okay.
um one of the things that we're working on them with, and part of the reason it does that is our fault. So I'll say that for everyone to hear. Some of it is because we had people authenticating with Canvas. Now we have SSO, like the Chafee logo.
Mm.
But there's still issues with the whole Chafee logo thing. We kept the Canvas. Like it seems like people have better luck just authenticating through Canvas than they do with SSO, unfortunately, where it should be the other way around. Like people should easily authenticate through SSO. Not the case. So just I
Or
would
both,
keep
or three. What is the last one? That last one with the little.
guest.
Oh, that one's guest.
You could do this. They can log in with Chafee or Canvas.
I think that's probably our preferred.
Yeah, because
Those
guest
two.
registration means that someone else could, like, if they're, I don't know, if they find your link, I
But
don't
they
think
would still have to go through Canvas anyway to find our
yeah,
scheduler. So, I don't
yeah.
know.
You could just do this.
Make it simple. Just one thing.
Yeah. So every group gets to decide who they service and how.
Okay.
So we don't want to also hold that against someone.
Sure.
Like, for example, counseling, they
Counseling.
service incoming students. So they pretty much have everything checked off.
Yeah.
Have a Google account, you're new, come on
Yeah.
in, right?
Right.
On your end, though, you're like, no, most likely have a class. So for sure
Yeah.
you're in Canvas.
Yeah.
Or just log in with your Canvas account
Yeah.
and okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay,
So
that's
that will
good.
solve also some of the issues you may be experiencing with like even the way people type in their names. Like you wouldn't even have someone have to do all of that because they've already authenticated through one of our systems.
Yeah.
That brings in all of their information.
Yeah, for sure. We have another question about the buffer times. We wanted to add some
Mhm.
buffer time in between appointments, just in case
Mhm.
tutors needed to spend a little extra time with a student, answering some technical questions.
Mhm.
But what we noticed is that when a student tries to make an appointment and they see a spot that's available and they click on it, all of a sudden the system tells them this is not available or there's an error. And we were wondering if that's because the buffer is in play. And so that was a glitch where we were trying to figure out. So that's one issue of that. And then the
Mhm.
second issue is if the buffer is in play, So let's say Anthony is meeting with a student from 10 to 10:30, and
Mhm.
another student logs into Cranium Cafe and wants to meet with Anthony. And the next time slot says 10:30 to 11. Should that automatically consider the 10-minute buffer? And should it automatically say then 10:40 to 11:10?
Hmm. So the meeting buffer, the way that it functions is that means that that's how much time you need in order for someone else. That's how much time you need. So let me go. I might
Mm.
not be describing this correctly. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's done actually per individual. And when you go to customize card,
Mm.
not customized card, calendar and scheduler settings. There's a scheduler setting option here. And then this is where it says scheduler buffer time,
Mhm.
the amount of advance notice you need before someone can actually schedule a meeting with you. So it means you at least need that much time before someone can actually schedule with you. I don't think it's what you're describing. So there might be a terminology issue here where you think like, oh, I need a buffer of 10 minutes, but really it's the system is saying you need at least 10 minutes before someone can schedule with you again. That makes sense. So that would be done individually. Like if you need, and the minimum it goes is 15
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
So okay. So that means that if the student logs into Cranium Cafe, I'm probably going to say the same exact thing I said before because I don't get it yet. But if the
right.
student, yeah, go ahead.
And I think I might not be the best person to answer that. Let me just say that. I don't think it's functioning the way that you want it to function because
Okay.
it's set the way that you are like it's not accounting for it's not then adjusting everything based on what you've said, oh, I need another buffer. So really during the reason code, you need to add that buffer and that way that person knows that their time is almost coming up. However, that I think that ping notification only comes on when you're using their
Their
system.
system.
Let's go over to our reason. So if I'm here and if I go to reason codes, do end of meeting buffer. It doesn't have any buffer time.
Mm,
So like it's 0 minutes, but if you
okay.
a 10-minute buffer or a 5-minute buffer time, that
Yeah.
should be able to adjust what you're saying.
Mm.
Part of what I don't want to change anything. Like I don't want to throw anyone
Right,
off, but
right, right, right.
um, so part of doing that though, especially because not everything's set up, is just to test it. Like, is
Okay.
it showing everything that I want it to show?
Okay. Fair enough.
I I think it's via the reason code. Like the actual reason code should display an end of meeting buffer. Like
Okay.
you need that amount of time after that meeting before someone else could schedule that meeting again.
Interesting. Yeah. And I think that's interesting is that we have these controls in this group setting, but then the individual, like when you were in your particular scheduler, calendar scheduler settings.
You can set a different buffer time.
Yeah. So I feel like that's the place where we worry might confuse students if some kind of thing gets changed, setting gets changed on an individual end, or a message gets changed on an individual end. We want the group to override that because we don't.
It should, the group piece should override it.
Mm,
The only difference is, especially when it comes down to this, Cranium Cafe, no, calendar and scheduler settings. it should default always to the group. In fact, is there a reason someone would be using their individual card for something?
No, no.
Like, I did just let people know, like, stay away from it. Like, let them do. A lot of it ends up being just the management of it. So if you have one person, this case, I think Sarah, or maybe just a few individuals per area
Right.
managing it, and
Right.
then everyone else just worries about actually meeting with the student,
Yes.
they make it flow pretty well
Sure.
for you.
Sure.
So if I go to scheduler settings as an individual, um, some of these things, although I set it for myself, depending on what my reasons are and the reason codes, should override some of these things. This, however, does matter. So someone only sets their 15-minute buffer. That means that if someone could schedule within that day 15 minutes before with someone. I don't know if that's something you'd like to do.
Okay.
I know counseling does like a couple days or a week or something like that.
Okay. There was another question that came up from the team that if a tutor is also a student and they want to make appointments with a counselor, would there be any conflicts between those two roles as a student and as a tutor? Because I think when they become a tutor, we upgrade their role as a faculty person in Cranium Cafe. So have you heard anything about any conflicts, problems?
There should not be. I have the highest role, and if I wanted to schedule something with counseling, I don't know why I went gray. I can do that. I can select to meet with someone.
Okay.
They would just need all my information, my
Okay.
intake. And I know you guys aren't using the intake form anyway,
Correct.
right?
Not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. So
We might. Maybe that's the problem. Anyway, keep going.
yeah, you can have all of this. There's also additionally, if you feel like we don't want students, if for some reason they're really just in cranium, something I do want to alert you to is like they could find you, right? And you know, I could send Anthony a message if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You can remove yourself from displaying on the student support directory. But because you've created a mechanism for someone to just schedule with you directly, right, in Canvas, like that's the only way essentially they can find you. By having your cards display here, someone can see like Edward is on, and I like knock on his door.
But if he's not logged in, though, then they wouldn't be able to do that, right? I mean, essentially, the tutor would only be logged in during their shift when they are seeing appointments.
Is there a reason why they're logged into Cranium but meeting in Zoom? Like, why would they need to log into Cranium to meet in Zoom?
Why would they? To see their appointments for the day.
Okay. Got it. Okay. I would suggest if there's no reason for having them here, to just remove them from the student support directory. That does not remove them from your group, nor if you send someone their card directly, that doesn't matter. Like that still functions.
How do we do that?
Saying, you know, they're just not displaying for everyone to see. Because they might not want that, right? Like they might not want someone to click on here and start sending
them messages, right? How do we do that so that they could not be visible and for all students?
So I would say I would ask them to do a bulk kind of disabling, but
you mean Connex Ed? Ask them.
Are you an administrator in the next step,
I
Rosemary?
think, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest.
The way that you do it is you essentially just look for the user. So if this was the user that I wanted to change,
Okay.
I could then say, like,
Ah,
and then I would just update that user.
okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And I could, if you we vote for that, we could do that. We could do that easily
As a group.
on your behalf. Yeah, I just don't want to make any changes that you
Yeah.
don't want.
Right. That we could still.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I think I've got into part of your questions, which were just
Yeah.
like, why are students getting these messages? Things that don't look accurate.
Right.
Is other things that you're
Yeah.
having trouble with?
Yeah. We noticed that when we do the workshop um, appointments. So, for instance, when a student, right now we've been using we've been putting in the guidance workshops in and by default just testing it out with them. So when a student, we have our Google Calendar set up on our Canvas page, and when a student wants to make an appointment, it's hyperlinked. When they click on that, they see several mindset workshops all in a row in a list. But we notice that that display is not chronological. It's displayed based on the time that the staff member inputted it into Cranium Cafe.
Oh.
So that's not really something we wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it displays, yeah, like if we decided to add another workshop in, it's going to be at the
Yes.
very bottom instead of.
Yes. In chronological order.
I wonder why that happened.
Hmm.
Um, from my understanding, it should be in order of date, right? Like in
Mm-hmm.
chronological order in that
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a question that we could put forward to them. I wonder if it deals with the way, does that happen even when you click on the card individually?
So the way we have it set up is that in Google Calendar, if the student sees the mindset workshop is 4 p.m. and then there's a hot link that says make an appointment, when they click on that, the list generates. It's not an individual appointment card for that particular group. Is that what you were asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had brought that up in a meeting, and it seems like it's going to be a lot of work to individually hyperlink versus just produce one
Yeah, like who
hyperlink.
wants to do that one by one?
Right,
No.
exactly.
Like, no, I'm all about efficiency. Like, if there should be things that should link up a certain way. Let me see.
And I know you have to end at 12:30, so if we can't continue.
You're okay. I was just trying to eat, but
Yeah, no, that's important.
I'm like, I have something at after that kind of takes up the whole rest of the day, but this is really important too. So
I
you're,
appreciate that.
um,
Self-care, Adriana. Self-care.
this is where you're getting your workshops, right? Like it's this link that you're hyperlinking to.
I think
Okay.
that's a question that probably I'm not the best person to answer, but okay, we'll go with it.
I just want to make sure that it is the correct link, and if it's
What other choice would we have?
I think I'm not sure. I think that's why I have that question. Like, is that
Mm,
the link?
mm.
Um,
Because that's a group that was created by us, right? So,
right.
okay.
So, and then you could also, what you can do also, I don't know if you're interested in doing this though. Someone could schedule a workshop even through the scheduler. So if there were a workshop for that group, I think we might need a follow up to just see
Okay.
what happened as far as like how things were set up, which one of these groups have workshops enabled, and then like go from there. So that would help me communicate to them exactly what's happening based on what we're doing. Sometimes we do. I know I've experienced where I've been the one to manipulate things in a certain way, and they have to explain it to me like, oh, that's by you doing this, this is the result you like. So they have maybe a different way that they would do it, and I just don't know about it. Um,
100%.
that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Is there someone, I don't know who's managing all of this currently. Is it Sarah?
Uh,
Like all of
into
these?
for the entire unit, yeah, Sarah is the liaison, the point person.
For arts, business, health, manufacturing, like for all of these, right?
I mean, individually, our IAs are, right, the ones that are the liaisons for those particular communities are the point people for those specific areas. And then Sarah's
Mhm.
kind of the, she can talk to Connex Ed, although Carla got in that conversation too, because it was just like we needed
Is
some
there
answers.
someone specifically they've been in contact with?
Raphael?
Yep, not heard of that. Have not heard of that person. So, not that that person doesn't obviously they exist. I just don't know if they understand everything that we've already done with ConnectSet and a
Yeah.
lot of questions, things that we've gone through. So
Yeah.
we have some other direct contacts with ConnectSet.
I mean, I know Carla's talked to them on the phone, and probably
Right.
thoroughly explained to them what was happening. And they were just saying, well, we'll work on the coding for it. But before
Yeah.
you go, though, Adriana, you know how you showed step by step how to fix those templates, the email templates for the individual appointments. That would be the
Hmm.
same thing for the group appointments as well, for the workshops?
It would be
Everything.
everything.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make
So
sure.
if you had a workshop in there, there's a workshop template that gets emailed, that gets sent, and
Okay.
you want to edit that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I think we have different ways of viewing the system, maybe, because although we want it, every system has its own like things, and how do I put this? Like nothing is this is very new even for them in trying to do really specifics. And I don't think that they realize also that we're doing these workarounds. Like I know I've expressed it like, oh, I use Zoom. So I put my Zoom link as a location. And that's just really kind of, like point blank, like that's what I'm doing because I don't like the way that the system communicates with users when we're using their face-to-face tools.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean that it's not being used. Counseling is the biggest user of this system, and they fully use Cranium the way that Cranium works.
Because
So
that's how it was designed for that
yeah,
purpose.
yeah. So I think that's what we're getting into a space now that it's not so much we only want it to do this because this is what we know how to do, but understand what the system does exactly and how we could also have some flexibility in our asks to grow with it, right? Or decide that it's not potentially something that works for us. And
Right.
that's okay too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because someone in our team brought up, when the college purchased this tool, they purchased it for the entire college, right? Not just for counseling or not just for librarians. Is that right?
Um, the college purchased it. I don't even want to say purchased it, but like contracted with them. Initially, I think more for instruction and like office hours, and
Uh-huh.
it did not have Calibrate. It did not have classrooms. Those are all newer things.
Hmm.
The Cranium Cafe, which was the meeting space.
Okay.
So Calibrate and classrooms, I don't, although they're not super new, they're newer.
Yeah.
And what really took Cranium Cafe off was their Calibrate piece because the way that it is really intricate and it allows for a lot of things. And they've rolled out other things. They now have like their kiosking tool, so it's very much like QList, where you could like sign up, you get a ping. The issues that we're saying is from their foundation, the Cranium Cafe portion, the office portion, video piece, we're not happy with. Everything else seems to work really great, and there might be some fixes, but a lot of our issues that even we're experiencing with success centers, right? We wouldn't have if we were using their system and if their
Correct.
system worked the way we wanted it to work.
Correct. And that's why we wondered if maybe they were lagging in terms of helping us, because they were like, well, that sucks. You're using Zoom. You're not using our system. But
I don't think so.
no.
We haven't had that. I know that they got an influx of new colleges, and that's not to say that that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be responsive. I think they are. Every day they get new requests for all types of things, and I think when we've spoken to them, they understand like the urgency we have
Yeah.
because we have so many different things that work for Chiefy, but they have to make changes that work for all the colleges. And I believe the chancellor's office has contracted with them also to do not their full suite, which is part of what we have. We have other additional things that not everyone has. So, trying to understand their current kind of where they currently stand with everyone they service and all of our specific asks. I've been trying to understand it a little bit more, but I'd say we could come back to and sit at the table with them and let them know what our asks are and continue to push that forward. I had suggested, especially with counseling, but this might go kind of across the board with other services that are inside of Cranium. But I know with counseling specifically, because they're across the state really heavy users for that system, it Chafee asking for it directly might not be as, not that they don't listen to our asks,
Right. But not be as
on their priority
right.
list.
Yeah.
Versus the way that we do online tutoring and service our students is still kind of unique, even across the state.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to come together to understand what other people are also doing, so we could align a little bit more our asks a little bit more closely with what works for most.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to work for all; it'll work for most.
Right.
They'll have to do some tweaks.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say let's continue to push forward. I've sent them a list of things that I had that were more technical questions that I know we have to fix on our end. And it was mainly for instruction. So let me know what continues to come up, and hopefully we could work a little bit more closely on getting some of those things resolved.
Okay.
Where it doesn't feel like you're just asking and the responses of we're working on it. Some of it might not be that they need to work on it. Some of it may be they come back and let us know, oh, you're actually setting something up in a way that's not going to work for the system, or that's why you're getting that kind of a message.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you, Adriana, for your time and for just helping us out as much as you can. I know you're so busy.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I would appreciate a follow-up meeting to just go ahead and fix some of these things if you need like help going through the system and just, okay, is everything okay? Let's test things out. Instead of like, hey, it's still not working, because then we come back to this space of, well, let's go back and see what changes were made. I appreciate to be kind of side by side, so we can advocate as much as we can on your behalf too.
Sounds great. Our team is meeting every Friday. Our meeting's called Tech Talk, and we meet every Friday at 8 a.m., 8 to 9, in our Microsoft Teams kind of video conference. So I can just add you to the list if you ever want to pop in. So
Yeah, I think we almost, because then I'm sure you guys talk about other stuff. I would appreciate some dedicated time to maybe not these specific groups, like whoever, maybe it's Sarah and like whoever manages arts, communications, and design,
Sure.
like kind of taking them piece by piece to understand everyone's everyone doesn't work probably the same way. They might have different ways of messaging, and that's okay too.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop
All
recording
right,
now.
Roseanne.